Well, folks, good morning and welcome to this webinar of the Indigenous Tourism Marketing and Production Grant for 2025, hosted by State of Washington Tourism. My name is Matthew Ozuna and I am the Destination Development Manager at State of Washington Tourism, SWT. I'm joined today by Michelle Thana and Tamara Rice. Michelle is the Director of Marketing at SWT, and Tamara is the Destination Development Coordinator. Michelle will share her insights and tips for marketing production with us at the very beginning of the webinar because she has to run a little early. And Tamara will give us a walkthrough of WiseHive, the online platform for grant applications and overall grant management at the end of the webinar. I will come in right after Michelle. But before we get started, I just want to acknowledge that this grant program was funded in large part by a federal award from the Economic Development Administration, awarded to State of Washington Tourism by the Washington State Department of Commerce. So that award pays for this or funds this and other grant programs from State of Washington Tourism. Again, we are focused on the Indigenous Tourism Marketing and Production Grant for 2025. There was a grant for Indigenous Tourism Marketing and Production in 24. But this grant, we have a few updates. We'll talk about that today. And feel free to put your questions in the chat at any time during this webinar. We will have a dedicated time for Q&A at the end of the webinar. And you'll get this slide deck and a recording of today's webinar via email for those who registered for the webinar. Okay, so I'm going to stop and turn things over to Michelle.
Great, thanks so much, Matthew. And when you have a chance, if you'll pop forward to slide 8, I'm just going to cover a few best practices for marketing, production, gathering assets, and making sure that you have as many rights as possible so that you can keep using these assets over a long period of time, and hopefully also share them with us so that we can help in promoting your tourism assets. So jumping in with a few best practices, we really encourage folks to get specific about what you want photos and videos or written content of. Beyond just the location, thinking about what are the things that you want to showcase or that you don't want to showcase and being very explicit about that. Also thinking about seasonality and what time of year you might want to do a photo or video shoot, what time of day, really kind of honing in on what you're looking for and what you need. We also encourage you to think about gaps and what assets you might already have or have access to and what the needs really are. And then finally, kind of using all of that brainstorming and brain dumping, building a shot list and really prioritizing what are the most important things you need and what can maybe wait for a later time. And Matt, if you'll pop forward to the next slide, please. So then thinking about choosing a vendor as part of this grant process, you likely will be getting bids from different vendors. I think some important things to keep in mind when you're selecting a vendor is looking for examples of their work that really matches your brand style and what you're looking to convey. Consider what added value a vendor could bring. Could they produce video in addition to photo? Can they edit videos in different ways so you could use them on social media or different channels, vertical video, horizontal video? If you're hiring a photographer or a videographer, can they write written content that would support those visual assets? And can any of these vendors include circulation? Like, can they publish the content on their own channels to help increase the reach of your assets? It's always important to think about multiple options and not to be afraid to negotiate with folks. If you'll pop forward on that. Again, when you're looking at written content, I think it's really important to look for writers who both have really strong writing samples and know your area, or in this case, maybe are familiar with your tribe or even are part of the tribe. Consider, again, what added value writers can add on the other side of things. Can they bring photography or even social media posts, videography? Be really open with the writers that you're hiring, share your audience and key considerations. Again, what are you trying to promote? What stories do you want to tell? And are there any things that must be included or that should definitely not be included? And then I think that this will be a little bit more inherent, hopefully, in these projects, but making sure to prioritize diverse voices. and representing viewpoints that maybe aren't seen as much in the tourism ecosystem. Usage rights, just starting off with a little bit of definition, usage rights will specify where photo, video, written content can be used and by whom and over what period of time. Ideally, we want to get as many rights as possible. So for us, that looks like third-party rights and in perpetuity. The reason that we want the third-party rights is so that we can share the assets with journalists and with meeting planners and travel agents who are helping us promote tourism into the state of Washington and tourism into your local communities.
And Michelle, I have a question for you with usage rights.
Yeah.
When you're requesting these rights, does that mean the price for the product or services also goes up?
Typically it will, yes. That's definitely a consideration for photographers and videographers is the rights. And that's why it's important to kind of negotiate these upfront and understand what you're getting in your package.
Yeah.
And if you'll pop forward one more, I have a little bit more on usage rights. Make sure that you're confirming rights for the assets, the photos, videos, and content. And then also if you're using people or models in the photo and video shoots, make sure that the rights are included for that, and the same note for music, because there are times when those rights might have different expiration dates. So it's just important to understand how all of those rights come together and if there are any rights that end sooner with the content that's being produced through this project. And again, I'm a big fan of negotiating, so always negotiating, and it never hurts to ask for the maximum rights that can be purchased within your budget. And again, we really want to be your partners in promotion, so we are looking for rights wherever possible as well.
Right, Michelle.
I think Tamara is going to share my contact info. I'm happy to answer any questions after the webinar. Please don't hesitate to reach out, and we're excited to get some new content through this grant project.
Thanks, Michelle. Yep, hopefully we'll send a few folks your way.
Great. Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Tamara.
All right, Tamara is left. I will give a broad overview of the Indigenous Tourism Marketing and Production Grant before turning it over to Tamara for a walkthrough of Wise Hive. So I will share my screen again. Actually, I need to make sure I have the right slides up. Start from the beginning. Present. Share. Okay, folks, you just heard from Michelle Thana, our Director of Marketing at SWT. She talked about best practices for this kind of work. I'm going to tell you more about the grant that will help pay for this kind of work. So let's get started with an overview of this grant program. It's really for Indigenous or tribal entities to help with the building blocks of a marketing program. Photos, video, written content for blog posts, things like that. These will kind of help you in social media campaigns, other marketing campaigns, and just overall website content. Remember, and this is very important, that tribal entities indigenous to the state of Washington are eligible for this grant. These can include tribes themselves, but they can also include departments or tribal museums, cultural centers, other entities. So keep that in mind. It's also very important to note that tribal casinos and content associated with Indian gaming will not receive funding for this grant. Small businesses are not eligible for this grant, but those entities can be part of the tribal casinos and small businesses, and non-tribal organizations can be part of a larger project collaborators for the grant projects. Here's the timeline for this grant in 2025. The application period opens in just about 2 weeks, February 1. It will stay open for the entire month of February. Once the application period closes, we have about 30 days for a review committee to review applicants and decide if their products or services warrant the initial price or request of this grant. If we have leftover funds, we could maybe even provide the applicant with more funds in our budget. So that's something to consider. Applicants, successful applicants, will be contacted probably in early, and we say approximately because there's a few processes that we have to run through at State of Washington Tourism. But usually by early April, successful applicants will be notified via email. And then because the funds come from Commerce, they're federal funds that Commerce actually has, we have to request those funds from Commerce. And then they get passed through State of Washington Tourism to our applicants. So you should receive those funds probably in late April, early May. There's also a midterm report on your grant project that will be due to Tamara by late August, early September. And this is also very important, folks, too, that the work has to be done by the end of November, and a final project needs to be submitted to State of Washington Tourism by the end of December. All of these federal dollars need to be spent by the end of this year. It's really important that all of this work is completed by the end of 2025. So a little bit more about this grant. I mentioned that this grant, we have grants are up to $50,000, but if we only have 1 or 2 applicants, that could increase. Matching for this grant application is not a requirement, but it will only help your application. And we've budgeted roughly around $100,000 for this grant program. Again, remember, in our conversation with Michelle, when you're talking about usage rights, those things usually cost more. So make sure to kind of keep that extra costs in your budget in your application. Also, like I said earlier, it's great if you can collaborate with local tourism offices, chambers of commerce, small businesses, local government land managers, folks outside of the reservation, of your Indigenous community. It will only help your application. Now, really important, these are federal funds, even though that they come from the Washington State Department of Commerce. So there's certain rules associated with them that you have to be pay close attention to. So we have a few things that we require here at State of Washington, UBI number and the EIN number through the IRS, but you'll also need a UEI number, and you can request one of those from grants.gov, and that's free to do. Your contractors also need to have a UBI number and EIN number. That's also very important and must be documented. Contractors must be billed on a reimbursement basis, so after services are rendered. Every dollar spent needs to match with a receipt. That's really important, especially with federal funds. And these dollars can't be used for staff salary. So you can't pay yourself to do the marketing work, to go out and take a few photos on your camera or shoot some B-roll. You actually have to kind of contract that work out. And I should probably go back. When you're looking for a contractor to do this work, that has to be a fair and open process, especially for projects that are more than $10,000. So you really have to kind of do your research and make sure that the prices that you find or that you receive a quote from a potential contractor are reasonable, are kind of market price. If for larger projects over $10,000, you will need to kind of show State of Washington Tourism quotes by at least 3 entities that plan to do this work for you. So keep that in mind.
Hi, Matt. Excuse me, I'm going to interrupt here for a second. So also with these grants, I want to remind folks that they are not to receive quotes prior to receiving an award. That's really important for these. It would actually disqualify uh, some of the applications if you were to do that. Also with the UEI number, it does need to be an active registered UEI number. So just having a UEI number is not enough. You need to go a little bit further, register that. If you do not have a expiration date on your UEI information, then you do not have an active registered UEI number. Just one more thing on that. If you look at your expiration date, make sure that it is not expired, and if it is, renew it. Also, you'll want to get right on to registering your UEI number. If it is not, it takes about 3 weeks, I believe. So just wanted to add that information in there. Thank you.
Thank you, Tamara. Those are good points. I should also mention that yes, you're not supposed to name the contractor that you want to work with, but you have to talk about the products and services that you're looking for. So you can kind of say, we want a film shoot. We're going to hire an influencer to write a few blogs about a cultural experience in our community. That's great. The more detail, the better, without mentioning the specific contractor. How will your grant applications be evaluated? Well, here's how. We break this down a few ways. So, and this is, folks, this is also on the Indigenous Tourism Marketing and Production Grant website. So you'll have all this information here. Be sure to kind of follow it in your application as you start to draft your application. But we're really looking for details around objectives, budgets, partners, timelines, evaluation metrics is really important. That's going to kind of weigh the heaviest in your application. How will these assets raise awareness, potentially impact overnight visitation and stimulate visitor spending? I would also say, raise awareness. That's another, you can kind of interpret that as, it doesn't have to be, promotion of tourism heads and beds. It can also take on a different meaning: destination management, visitor education, how to be a responsible traveler on ancestral lands in Indigenous communities. So that's another way to kind of go about this grant project if you decide to apply. Statement of need. Why is this important? Why is the financial need? There's financial need for this project in your area. How will these assets show the tribal community's commitment to accessibility and inclusion? I think we have that question throughout all of our grant programs in the application process. We're always looking for a match. If you have one, great. If not, it won't hurt you that much. And how you comply to all the reporting requirements. So be sure to kind of showcase what you have, or how you've reported on grants, or how you plan to follow through with the reporting requirements and timelines with this grant. And we will pick up, well, we started here with Michelle, so now I'm going to stop again and turn things over to Tamara.
Yeah, thank you, Matt. So first, I want to let everybody know where they can find the application link. So this application, this program opens on February 1st, it looks like, and you'll be able to find the link on the grant landing page. And I will put in the chat where the grant landing page is, that URL for you in a moment, or after I'm done with running through the Wise Hive application portal. So I'm going to share my screen here. And So Matt, are you seeing the program info page now?
Yes, I see test org on the top.
Do you see the actual program info page that says apply?
Oh, no, I see the applicant's profile.
Now do you see it? I'm going to stop sharing and see if
Yeah,
we can. My
start over that
apologies.
way. No worries.
Mm. Okay.
Yep, there it is. Program info
Yay.
page.
Yeah, I don't know how that happened. A little glitch there from on my end. So first you'll see once you click on apply on the from the grant landing page, you'll see the program info page for this grant. And this information is a lot of what Matt just went over. It has the application timeline. It has stipulations for working with contractors, reporting requirements, the link to the FAQ for this grant program, and the link to the application portal FAQ. Will also include a link to this recorded webinar. And here's my information, contact information if you have additional questions. Once you click on apply, you will be brought to logging in. Now, if you already have an account, you'll go to this. I already have my account, log in, but I'm going to aim this towards new users. So you'll enter your information here. And I want to point out that the email address that you use here will receive a 6-digit passcode. So once you click on create account, you'll enter that 6-digit passcode. And Matt, do you see choose your organization screen?
I
Okay.
do. Yep.
I have several test organizations here, but if you're new to this, you're just setting up your account, you will not see these. You'll need to set up a new organization account. And what we'd like you to do is click on the Create New Organization button that's right above the back button. Please ignore the Create Using GuideStar. This information here, this button, we're unable to remove. My apologies for that if it causes confusion, but please click on Create New Organization. So I already have my profile created here. These are the questions that you'll be asked. Your organization's legal name, we'll need your EIN number, that unique entity ID number, which does have to be active and registered. Sorry, I keep hounding on that, but it's really important. Your UBI number. If for some reason you do not have a UBI number because of sovereign nation exemption status, please zero that out. You'll enter your organization mailing address and a primary contact. We would like you to enter more organization contacts, but if for some reason you do not have that, please enter NA in the first 2 fields here as they are required. Do you work with a destination marketing organization? If so, please enter that information there. And then next, you'll be going to your eligibility check. So this eligibility check has 2 questions. Is your organization a tribal entity indigenous to Washington State? And are you a for-profit business? For-profit businesses are not eligible. So I'm going to go ahead and click yes and no and check my eligibility and start applying. So up here at the top of the application, you'll see add and manage collaborators. So click on that and you can enter collaborators here if you want somebody to work with you on this application. Next, you will start entering the information in the application. We'll need your project title, your brief description of your summary of the project, anticipated start date of the project, a grant amount requested. Now, this grant does have a maximum of $50,000. Are you open to partial funding? Estimated cost of the project and entering your project category. You can enter up to 3 categories here. If you click on other, you're able to enter that information here, that description. Select your tourism region and you can select as many as you need to. And I'm not seeing my next button here, so bear with me. I'm going to switch over here. There we go. And then we'll need your project location. And is there additional location that this project will be in? I'll go ahead and enter that if so. And then the application questions that Matt just went over are here. Next, we go to your supporting documents. There's information here with links on if you have more questions on and receiving your supporting documents. We also have applicants need to submit a W-9 form. Here's a link to that, a link to the grant applicant budget template. So with this, the grant budget template, please do use the one that we are providing. It really helps our review committee with the process. You'll enter your UEI active registration confirmation here, your EIN determination letter, or your confirmation of tax exempt status with your EIN. Your UBI Washington business license confirmation. Like I said, if you do not have that, enter a memo here that states the reason why. And your W-9 form with the uploaded current date and signed W-9. So optional documents here. So Matt and I kind of went over this a little bit earlier. And this is optional, so you do not need to do this, but some people like to submit a draft quote. If you do that, really make sure that you express intention to seek contract work from a third party without naming a vendor. When describing the work, applicants should specify deliverable and desired qualifications for the vendors. It's really important here. And like I said, it's optional. You do not need to submit anything in this upload area. A description of your organization and your organization's website URL. If you don't have a URL, just enter NA there. Letters of recommendation are optional. You can enter up to 3 references here and up to 3 letters of recommendation. And finally, we're at the agreement and signature area. Remember, this is not you're not signing a contract here. If you are a successful applicant, you'll receive an award contract to sign. This is basically, you're agreeing to that you understand the criteria of this program and that you've completed the grant application with integrity and accuracy. And so I'm going to go back to home. Now I'm looking at, this is a little bit different here because this is a test application here. What you will see, there's a button at the top that says review and submit. So you'll click on the review button. Really make sure you review this, get a second set of eyes on it. It's very important because once you submit your application, you're not able to edit it. So once you've reviewed it, there's the button at the top, which I'm sorry you don't see here, but click on that. And then you'll receive an email confirming that your application has been submitted. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing. And if you have any questions, my email address is in the chat. Please reach out to me and look forward to working with you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Tamara. And I'm available as well, in addition to Michelle Fana, our Director of Marketing. She's the one with all of the know-how behind this grant. We also have a grant writing consultant available for folks as well. So if you'd like to kind of meet with SWT's grant writing consultant, we can put you in contact with her. Tamara, this grant existed last year. It exists this year. Last year, from what I recall, there was 3 awardees. I believe it was the Spokane tribe, Squamish tribe, and Snoqualmie tribe. All had different projects, but I'm trying to think of a few now. I think the Squamish tribe focused on cultural heritage, kind of marketing material to promote their museum. I think the Spokane tribe focused on natural resources, outdoor recreation, specifically sport fishing, content around there. And the Snoqualmie tribe utilized video interviews to help with their ancestral lands movement, outdoor recreation, maybe a bit of like visitor education and destination management. So those are just a few examples of projects for or that were used with these grant funds. You can find more information on those grant projects in 2024 on our website, the SWT website, and more specifically, the Indigenous Tourism Marketing and Production grant page. We have a link where you can learn more about previous grant projects and awardees.
I
What
just
else?
put that link in there for everybody.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tamara. I'm trying to kind of, what other kind of tips and tricks can we tell folks on the line today? We mentioned Eliza, our grant consulting grant writer, and previous awards. You have access to Tamara, myself, Michelle Thana.
There's the FAQs out there, lots of
FAQs,
information there.
Check those FAQs first, maybe before contacting Tamara. That will probably help you out. And oh, I see a few folks that joined us today. So if there's any questions from the folks in the audience, you can go ahead and put those in the chat, or you can just raise your hand. We're a small enough group, I can allow you to talk. You can voice your question over Zoom. Okay. Don't see any questions coming in, Tamara. None in the chat and none in the Q&A feature.